When it comes to gaming peripherals and accessories, the NES had its fair share of inventive and nuanced means of getting the most out of 8 bits and 4 buttons. To name a few of the popular ones, there was the NES Max Controller, the NES Advantage, the Power Pad, Rob the Robot, the Power Glove, and of course, the Pac-In Zapper. There were several companies that tried their hand at making these accessories, namely Nintendo themselves, but Galoob, Camerica, Hudson Soft, and even LJN got in on the mix. Then there was Konami's attempt, with the Konami Laser Scope. As a disclaimer, I don't own one, so I couldn't try it out, but reviews for it have been resoundingly low since day one. It's a head-mounted zapper that was designed specifically for today's game, Laser Invasion, but could also be used for any game that was also compatible with the zapper. The scope was voice-activated, and fired a shot when the wearer said the word "fire" out loud, though it didn't always work, as you could imagine from cheap early 90s tech. If you bought Laser Invasion, you got a $10 off coupon for the laser scope. It said so right on the game's box. So aside from clunky peripherals, what's up with Laser Invasion? Before starting the game, you can tell it how you're playing. Are you using the zapper, the laser scope, or just your controller? I chose the zapper, and I'll say if you have sensitivities to flashing lights, the fires of the zapper cause the screen to flash, which was captured here. You've been warned. There are 3 segments of the game, and it kind of reminds me of Captain Skyhawk in that regard. Here you start out in a cockpit dogfight scenario where you must fly your chopper to the location indicated on the radar at the bottom. On the way, you'll have to dodge missiles and shoot down enemy helicopters. It's a little tricky to do, actually. I found it easier to just completely dodge the missiles instead of trying to shoot them all down. Once you get to the spot indicated on the map, you'll engage in a dogfight with a boss enemy. It's not too tough if you are adept at dodging and using your missiles. Your missiles or special weapons can be a little awkward to figure out. Before each level, select the type of missiles you want that vary based on the number you can carry and the damage they do. You can also select another special amenity, like a device that lowers your detectability in enemy radar, extra fuel, or more bombs. You can flip back and forth between your missiles and that special amenity by pressing select during flight, and then to fire, you tap the B button twice, quickly. The A button is used to adjust your speed, which helps you land. With only 2 buttons on the controller, I get that options are limited, I'm just saying. Once you dispatch that enemy, you have to make your way back to base. It seems that you'll inevitably run out of fuel on these missions, so choosing the extra fuel or just taking a death is going to be in the cards. Once you fly back toward the base, you'll have to position the chopper just right for the prompt to land to appear, and then decrease the speed of the chopper and lower your altitude to land. I didn't have a lot of issue with this, but sometimes the prompt to land wouldn't appear and I'd have to circle back around. Then comes the actual landing part, which varies in difficulty depending on wind speed and direction, and can be outright frustrating because if you miss, you have to circle the chopper around to try again. And remember what I said about fuel. I should point out that here you do not get to use your zapper or laser scope during the cockpit stage, but those parts are coming right now. Now that you've landed the chopper, you hop out and continue your mission. The missions typically involve infiltrating some enemy-controlled zone, and now you have to fight through enemies on the ground to get to your target, and you do this with the zapper or laser scope in tow. This is of the more fun parts of the game. I definitely prefer this over the naggy and unpredictable flying stages. Here it plays out like a regular gallery shooter. The camera pans left to right slowly, and you shoot the enemies as they appear on screen before they shoot you. You'll really have to lay into some of the turrets, which fatigued my trigger finger and had me wondering what it would be like to be panicked and yelling, "Fire, fire, fire!" over and over again with the laser scope. I can imagine my wife coming to check that our basement wasn't in flames and rolling her eyes when she found me wearing the headset and completely cross-eyed from trying to aim it with my forehead. Anyway, these stages don't last very long, maybe a couple of minutes, and then finally you enter the third and final phase of the stage. This reminds me of a segment of The Lone Ranger on the NES that Konami released later that same year. Here you're in 3D corridors that you navigate with the D-pad on the controller, but have your zapper ready. This is probably where the laser scope would have come in handy, literally, as you wouldn't need to use your hands to switch between the controller and zapper. Suddenly, enemies appear in the hallways and you dispatch them with the zapper until they stop coming. There are some maze-like elements in the corridors too, like you might have to find a gas mask before entering a certain area that is full of harmful gas. It's actually pretty fun. I would have enjoyed this game more if it were just the zapper segments and not the flying sections. After you find what you need to find, you leave the building and return to the chopper to complete your mission. You'll do this over the course of 4 stages, so essentially you repeat each of the modes, the flying, the panning zapper stage, and the 3D hallway zapper stages 4 times each, with varying degrees of complexities and difficulty. There is a story here. There's a sheik who seeks world domination and is preparing to release the most devastating weapon ever conceived by mankind. the Techno Scorch missile, which honestly does sound pretty sweet. Leaders around the world came together to form a plan to stop the Sheik before it's too late, and all decided that they needed one gifted modern-day soldier who can pilot a chopper, is an ace shooter, and can decipher enemy clues and messages. Hey, that's you! Ultimately, Laser Invasion truly is a lot of fun, if not a little tough, and that's largely due to the flying stages where missiles can appear on screen in an instant to kill you, trees become a problem, fuel is at a premium, and the landing mechanics are finicky and frustrating. The other two modes with the Zapper are engaging, responsive, and fun. In the base mode, you start with just 3 lives, and continues are here but limited, which adds to the difficulty. Despite that, it's certainly worth a try. The Laser Scope wasn't the last peripheral made by Konami. They also released a handgun zapper they called the Justifier for the home versions of their Lethal Enforcer series, and you can't overlook the accessories required for their Dance Dance Revolution games. Maybe one day I'll get an actual Laser Scope and yell fire at this game, just to see if my neighbors are paying attention. Alright, well that does it for Laser Invasion on the NES. Seriously, don't yell fire unless you really mean it. And thanks for watching.